Hey everyone, I'm on set here at Creality today and I want to answer some questions. Somebody asked me what is a 3D printer. Here is a very basic 3D printer. This is one of our Creality models and this will print things out of plastic. So you take a spool of plastic like this. The spool is a hard, not brittle, this is PLA. There's different kinds of plastic. You take this spool of plastic, run it into the machine. You can see this white nozzle. The plastic goes right down into this hot end, and this hot end has got a nozzle here which will get incredibly hot enough to melt the plastic. And then this will go down, and this moves back and forth, and this moves forward and back. So you've got your X, Y, Z axis, and then the plastic comes out of this nozzle, it goes right down tight to this, and we'll print something here in one tiny, very small layer. And then it does another layer on top of that, and another layer on top of that, and can print however size, whatever size the printer is. It can print things out of plastic. Like this was printed on a 3D printer, but it was printed one tiny little layer at a time. And you can see the layers are like the width of my fingernail probably. But you stack them up and you can print incredible things using a 3D printer. So you can download models. You don't have to make these things yourself. You can find these models on websites. People design things. You can just download their designs and print it yourself. That's all I've done so far, is download other people's designs that they give away for free and print them on my 3D printer. So that's what 3D printing technology allows you to do, is just make things out of plastic. Here's another type of 3D printer. This is called a resin printer. This is the Creality Hallet Mage Pro. This is their nicest, newest one. And you can see it prints upside down. And it starts in that bath there. Completely different technology from a regular 3D printer. This 3D printer uses ultraviolet light underneath glass, underneath this bath here. So this is just a bath of resin, liquid resin, and there's an ultraviolet light underneath that hardens each layer as it prints upside down. And so this tray actually goes down, dips into it, and gets hardened one layer at a time as it pulls up. It does incredible detail, much better detail than a filament printer. However, there's a lot more post-processing. The resin, you shouldn't touch it with your hands, so you got to wear gloves. You have to wash this off afterwards. A lot of people use a curing washing station like this. So you take the print out of there and put it in a curing washing station. You have to cut off all those supports, of course. Those supports are just to help it while it prints, but they come off super easy. So depending on what you want to print, you may need a resin printer, but in my opinion, it's a lot more work. It's more advanced, let's put it that way. The resin does have a smell, so you need to have it ventilated. There's a few downsides, but it does print incredible details. So that's called resin printing. Completely different technology, but also a 3D printer. Back in the studio, talking about filament this time, somebody asked me about what we use in a 3D printer. So I want to talk about just the filament. Now, when you're starting in 3D printing, probably the first thing you're going to use is PLA. That's the type of plastic it uses. This is right here, it says PLA. So that is the most common one that we use. Most things that you see printed by 3D printers are printed in PLA. PLA is very easy, melts at a low temperature, so all printers can print in it. Low temperature being like 240 degrees, something like that. So it's pretty easy to work with. That's what we use mostly. And in fact, I'm a beginner, so that's all I've used so far. I do have at my house some ABS, some PETG. So there are other types of plastic. They have a higher melting point. They have different properties. For example, PLA is not going to be great if you're outside. If you're using it outside, the sun is going to degrade it. It's going to get weak. It's not going to last. So you're going to want to use something else. So there's carbon fiber in some PLA. There's all kinds of different plastics that they use now. So we just have to know before we print something, depending on what you're using it for, what you're going to want to print with. And for me so far, I've been printing desk drawer organizers, so PLA is good enough. But once I start printing things that I want to put on my car or things I'm going to use outside, I'm going to use a different kind of filament. So there's different kinds of filament you can use, different kinds of plastic with different properties. So you just have to decide what you need, and then you can buy different kinds of plastic. They all work in the same printers. Some may need a different nozzle, some may need higher temperatures, but the printer's adjustable for that. All is all done in your software. So it's easy to use.